What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Joe Culpepper Outdoors. I'm Joe Culpepper. Today we're going to go over some new things that I recently bought and have been using for my archery stuff, and why I went the routes I did and everything. But first off, I want to say thank you so much for watching the videos and getting those views up and everything. I really appreciate it. So first thing, we got a new fletching jig. So this is the Arizona Mini Max. This is a left helical. Both of my bows that I'm using right now clock to the left out of, right out of the bow. So I figured I just need to match that to make it not so the arrow's not having to work, or the fletchings aren't working against the arrow as far as the rotation. We also got some new arrows. So these are the Victory Rip, and these are spine aligned. This is the 6/1000 straightness, mostly for price. So the reason that I went away from the 340, 350 spine is because I actually did go up to 75 pounds on my Matthews. And I also dropped from 30 inches to 29.5. And it's just helped me be a little bit more consistent. And what I've been working on is, pushing with my bow hand and pulling with my release hand while I'm working through that shot. So having that longer draw length, I noticed that I was really overextending this arm. And my second bow is a different brand, and it's set at 30 inches, but I don't have that same problem. So when I dropped to 29.5 on the Matthews, it actually worked really well, and it's been shooting really good for me, especially at distance. And at close range, I've noticed my groups really have tightened up a lot. I mean a lot. So, sorry. Also, I'm not fatiguing near as fast, even though I'm shooting a heavier pound draw. So that's something I would recommend if you are experiencing a little bit of trouble, like you feel like you're overextending your bow arm, or maybe you're bowing it in too much. Look at your draw length and maybe play around a little bit. For Matthews bows, it's not, I think Matthews and Prime, that are all module, a single module sets your draw length and your draw weight. It's not quite as practical for those as it is on Elites and Hoyt and Bowtech that have that rotating mod, so you can just change it by literally moving the mod on the cam. So if you do have a bow like that, I would recommend playing around with that some. If you are experiencing, a little bit of inconsistency or something with your shots. Anyways, so these are a 5mm arrow or a .204. And of course, like I said, this is the 6/1000 straightness, but they fly great, so I'm not too concerned about the straightness being an issue. And these do have a spine alignment, and I believe you're supposed to fletch with your odd vane on the same side as the spine, or with the spine facing up. So that's what I did with these. So on the front here, we have a 60 grain stainless steel outsert and a 100 grain match grade field point. I bought these for each one of my arrows. So I bought a dozen arrows and a dozen of these, and they fly really well. And I don't know if they're affecting accuracy a lot, but like I said, just this whole arrow setup, my accuracy has gone way up. And it's probably something to do with the bow, and probably some with these field points and smaller diameter arrows and everything. But we'll see, how it goes long term. Also, you'll notice that I have blazer vanes. These are just normal little, just run-of-the-mill average veins. There's nothing special about these. They work, you know. So I bought these to try because the tack veins are just so stiff and they're hard to get fletched right. Which with this jig, I've gone back and done some tack veins on some different arrows, and they work really, really well. But it's just, to me, it's a little bit more of a hassle because you have to prime the tack veins, and then you have to use the tack glue. You can't just use any type of glue, which I think these will pretty much adhere with probably any type of glue that you could put on them. So I do want to point out too, I do not have the orange nocks on these yet. They didn't have any when I bought the arrows. So that is something I will very likely do in the future, is put those fluorescent orange nocks on here. But I'm also going to shoot these in hunting season and put the halo lighted nocks on the back of these for hunting. And as I said, my groups are tighter now, so even though these blazer veins are short and there's nothing special about them, I've shot out to 94 yards, I think, and I have plans to go back to 100, 110, you know, and do some further shooting. It's just been real windy lately, and I shouldn't have even been shooting it at 90 yards. I really don't like to go past about 70 when it's real windy. Well, I really don't like to go past about 50 because things happen and everything. But I've noticed no loss in accuracy with the smaller veins. And these are easy to get to pretty much. I think if you walk into any bow shop and ask for blazer veins, they're going to have them. So that's always a plus. And talking about the glue, we got some Easton Quick Bond Arrow Vein Adhesive, and this stuff has worked really well so far. And I'm not sure how expensive it is, but it's worked really, really well. I would say these actually seat better than the tack veins. Part of that's because they're not as stiff, a little bit more flexible, and the glue isn't as thick either, because I've already had to take and refletch some of them, just, you know, for a myriad of reasons. But I've already been refletching, and this glue is not nearly as hard to get off, nor is it as annoying to get off as that tack glue. So one thing I noticed about the tack glue, when you're actually getting the glue off of the arrow shaft after you've cut the fletching off, it likes to just kind of shatter as you cut through it. And so it happened to me several times while I'm, you know, just sitting there scraping the glue off. The glue would actually come up and get into my eyes, and then I'm, you know, sitting there, my eyes are hurting, and I'm just trying to get them cleared out. So these veins, or this glue has not done that yet, and it sets really fast. And I've had no issues with these veins coming off, and I've been stacking arrows on top of each other. And they're probably not as durable long term as the tack veins. But one thing about the tack veins is if you stack those arrows on top of each other, those tack veins are real bad about just coming right off the arrow shaft. That's happened to me several times, and it's annoying because then you have to go and clean the arrow off, or get all the glue off, and then you have to wipe it down. Then you have to refletch it, and then if it doesn't refletch right, you have to cut that one off and then do another. And that stuff's just kind of a hassle, which is another reason why I bought this jig. Definitely recommend this to anyone that's getting started in fletching. Fletching your own arrows, because it's so easy to use. The only thing I would say to look out for, there is a little thing in here where you take and put it locks your nock in. You may have to take and twist that to line it up where your odd vein is actually on the, I'm trying to think how to word this. So if this was the string of a bow, it would be going like this. But when I got it, it was more like this. So it was putting the odd vein out to out to the side like this instead of going up, which for some bows, that's how you shoot them. But I think most of the compounds now actually shoot odd vane up. So just something to keep in mind on that, but it's very simple to use. You take and you put your arrow, I'll just do it like this. You put your arrow in here, and you put your, of course, you put your fletchings in this little, you see this little track right here. You put your vanes in there, and then you take and you prime them, put your glue on, whatever, and then you close it up around the arrow, maybe. There we go. Then you're going to take this cap here and slide it down the arrow shaft, and then it just lines up right there on the top. You see this little metal pin. You just grab this. You don't want to grab it up here. You want to grab it right here. You're going to take your other hand and push up and twist over at the same time, and then you see that takes that little pin and moves it over here, so that spring is put in tension now, which is forcing these vanes onto the shaft. And so I just like to let that sit for a minute or two, and then you just do the same thing in reverse, and then you pull these little pedals back, and you've got a fletched arrow. So it's real easy to use, and very convenient too if you only mess up one fletching. It's really convenient to re-fletch your arrows, as long as you don't twist this thing in here after you have fletched your arrows, and you don't twist your nock. But that your nock twisting is going to be relevant with any type of jig, just because that's how it sets into the jig. You know, whether it's a Bitzenberger or something like this, or something even nicer. I do want to talk about one more thing. So this total arrow weight is 437 grains, and the Easton 6.0s I was shooting were 370 grains. With the Matthews, of course, I lost a ½ inch of draw length, but I gained 5 pounds of draw weight. So these, I went from sight tape number 6 to sight tape number 7. I lost a little bit of speed and a little bit of trajectory, but not a lot. And like I said, the accuracy on these is just so much better. Yeah, I was actually going to shoot the Gold Tip Hunter XTs out of my other bow this year and shoot these out of my Matthews just to see what the performance difference is. But I've been so impressed by these that I'm probably just going to shoot these out of both bows, just because I think they group better, they shoot better at distance. Yeah, they're not quite as fast and they're not quite as flat a trajectory, but they're still not heavy arrows. They are on the lighter end of what a lot of people use. So these also have a about a 16.5% FOC, which is really nice. And I will say this, I have noticed the penetration on these is better in the targets. Now, I think that the Easton 6.0s were mostly, most of my targets maybe going about this deep, and these are going, a little bit, maybe like that. So maybe another 2 or 3 inches. Not a lot, but I attribute that mostly to the bigger field point and the outsert. You got more weight at the front end, plus the smaller diameter arrow. So I'm really liking these so far, and I've actually been talking to one of my buddies, and he said that he really wanted to try these, but now that I've kind of vetted them, he's probably going to switch to these this year from the Easton Axis 5mm, just because those are so heavy. And I like keeping arrow weights down for trajectory purposes and for speed. I'm not a huge, I don't go after speed like some guys do, but I believe speed is important for trajectory, And it's important when you're taking, you know, a 40, 45, 50-yard shot. Just getting there a little bit faster sometimes makes a difference between clipping the top of the lungs and hitting no man's land. At least from what I've seen, I still have not had a chance to shoot a deer with my bow, but hoping to change that this year and hopefully break in both of my bows and get about 3 or 4 down with them this year. That would be really nice, but season's a long way off, so I have to kind of play all that by ear. So anyways, leave me a comment down below if there's some type of video you want to see. If you want me to test out some different veins, I can take and I'm probably going to order another dozen of these within the next 2 months, just to have more on hand. So if you want me to try some more veins or a different type of vein, let me know in the comments, and I'll read through and see, you know, what's feasible for me to do and what not to do. But let me know what you guys think. I'm really trying to get some videos of me shooting, but it's like every time I try to do it, something happens, and then the video either doesn't turn out good or just whatever. A lot of different things happen. So I'm probably gonna try to talk to my cousin and get him to actually film me while I'm shooting instead of me trying to self-film, because I think that's going to be the best way to do it. So anyways, I think that wraps it up for this one. So everybody stay safe, stay in the outdoors. God bless you, and I will catch you on the next one.